Hey guys, this is DoktorPebbles. Welcome back to the Ninja Gaiden Master Collection review, where we're looking at the three main 3D action games of the Ninja Gaiden franchise. This collection contains the games Ninja Gaiden Sigma, Ninja Gaiden Sigma 2, and Ninja Gaiden 3 Razor's Edge. Last time, we took a look at Ninja Gaiden Sigma, so today we'll be checking out the sequel, Ninja Gaiden Sigma 2. For transparency, a review code for the collection was provided courtesy of the publisher. 1 year has passed since the events of Ninja Gaiden Sigma. Ryu has gone into hiding as CIA agent Sonya tries to find his whereabouts seeking his aid. She's eventually attacked and kidnapped by the Black Spider clan, who have returned from the first game to cause havoc. Fortunately for Sonya, Ryu shows up to dispatch these ninjas, and after freeing her from her captors, learns of a plot by the villain Elizabeth to steal the demon statue from the Hayabusa clan in order to revive the Great Archfiend. Ryu quickly heads to his village but arrives too late as the leader of the Black Spider clan, Genshin, has already made quick work of the ninja there and has stolen the statue. Now Ryu must pursue Elizabeth and Genshin to prevent them from delivering the statue to Dagger Dai, who will use it to resurrect the Great Archfiend. During their quest, they must also contend with the 4 greater fiends in different parts of the world. Like Ninja Gaiden Sigma, Ninja Gaiden Sigma 2 is an updated version of the original game Ninja Gaiden 2, which released exclusively on the Xbox 360 in 2008. PlayStation owners would not be able to experience the sequel until its updated release the following year under the title Ninja Gaiden Sigma 2, which serves as the basis of Ryu's second 3D adventure in this collection. This port contains balancing changes, new bosses, new modes, and more playable characters. Rachel returns as a playable character from Ninja Gaiden Sigma, though you can also play as Ayane, who appeared periodically in Sigma, and newcomer Momiji, who would later be added to the roster of Dead or Alive 5 last round. The high-speed combat returns with various movement and gameplay changes, including new weapons for you to use, with a heavy emphasis on severing limbs and finishers. With these changes and extra characters and modes, is Ninja Gaiden Sigma 2 a worthy follow-up to the original game? Does it hold up today? And most importantly, is it any good? Let's find out what works in Ninja Gaiden Sigma 2 in The Good. Coming immediately from playing Ninja Gaiden Sigma, I could feel the improvements to the controls and Ryu's movement in combat. One improvement I really love is how the dodge has been tweaked to no longer put you in a long recovery animation after using it. There's still recovery, but it's a lot more manageable than in the previous game. Not to mention, if you dodge towards enemies, you go much faster and the recovery is non-existent where you can immediately attack right after, speeding up the pace of the game. Speaking of speed, there are many quality of life changes that help maintain the fast pace of the game. It's the little things such as items you pick up no longer pausing the game to flash the item in your face, saving taking a second at the dragon altar. You automatically use life orbs and life of the gods when picking them up, and most importantly, your item mini menu. I complained in the previous game's review how switching weapons felt like a chore with the constant pausing and navigating the various sub-menus. Thankfully, not only have weapons been added to the mini menu which you can access during combat, it also contains your various ninpo as well. The game pauses as you switch weapons and use items, which gives you a bit of breathing room during the hectic combat. It feels much faster and seamless to switch weapons this way, which encourages players to try out some of the other weapons Ryu has at his disposal. Speaking of weapons, Ryu has a packed arsenal this time around. He still retains his trusty Dragon Blade, but quickly gains more weapons during his adventure, which includes the returning Twin Blades, Vigorian Flail, Lunar Staff, and Giant Sword. Ryu also gains new weapons in the form of a chain with sickle, giant scythe, and my personal favorite, the ninja claws. The weapons this time around feel better balanced where they feel very viable for enemy encounters, and I often use them more over my go-to weapons from the previous games. 2 new mechanics help with the pacing of the combat and how visceral it gets. One of these new mechanics is the dismemberment system, where during fights you will chop off some of the limbs and heads of your enemies. When followed up with a strong attack, you can perform a finisher which has Ryu perform a unique execution on the enemy, which really helps with taking care of persistent enemies that get in your way during combat. The other mechanic is how you can perform ultimate techniques faster in this game. In the previous game, I never took advantage of these techniques since combat got so overwhelming, I had no opportunity to put them to good use. In Sigma 2, charging it is faster and you can use yellow essence left behind by slaying enemies to charge it faster. Once unleashed, you can perform a devastating combo on enemies that does massive damage and looks very cool to see. You also have projectile weapons in the form of a bow, which makes a return, and a new cannon weapon. One nice addition that was added was the auto aim function, where the aiming reticle will automatically lock to enemies close to the targeting reticle. Moves like the Flying Swallow, Izuna Drop, and Guillotine Throw are also unlocked from the get-go, so you no longer need to find their scrolls to use them. Rachel makes a return from Sigma 1, but unlike in that game, her movement feels much closer to Ryu's, where she is more acrobatic and can run off of walls. This makes playing her chapters during story mode feel less like Whiplash and allows players to quickly become adjusted to her playstyle. This also extends to the new playable characters Momiji and Ayane, who each have their own playable chapters during story mode and are also playable in the new tag missions and ninja run modes. Tag missions are enemy horde stages where you team up with the CPU to dispatch enemies. You can select any two characters to tackle these missions with, and you can switch between them. Ninja Run allows you to choose any of the playable characters and speed through stages from the main story as fast as you can. It's a nice way to put players' skills to the test and really learn the vast movesets of each character and their weapons. While on the topic of levels, this game is definitely more linear than Sigma 1 since the story takes place in different parts of the world. I actually prefer this over the original since the environments in Sigma 1 started to feel the same after a while, but with Sigma 2 there's a greater diversity of environments with the big apple sections of New York, the waterways of Venice, the more wetland areas of the Aztec ruins, and a large flying battleship. The antagonists also feel distinct with their own personalities to match in the environments you fight them in. I like how the story in this game feels more focused revolving around the Fiends since they felt like a backdrop to everything else happening in the first game. One last thing I really like about Sigma 2 is how the health system works. The first game felt unforgiving with some basic encounters potentially reducing your health down to 0 at a moment's notice with no ways to heal yourself. That's rectified in Sigma 2 where getting hit by enemies will reduce both your HP and health threshold. Once combat is finished, your HP would automatically be replenished up to the health threshold it was reduced to with healing items, serving to both heal during the heat of combat or restoring your threshold afterwards. It's a great quality of life change that helps reduce downtime between combat, either scrounging around for hidden health items or grinding enemies for health essence or yellow essence to buy more healing items. There's a lot of quality of life to be enjoyed here, but some of it begins to ruin the balance of the game, as well as other ill-received gameplay mechanics from the first game that have not been touched up. With that in mind, we'll be taking a look at what Sigma 2 got wrong in the bad. These new quality of life changes made the game much easier than Sigma 1.
But Doc, you complained endlessly about the difficulty of the game in the previous review. Why is it being easier a problem now?
Let me explain. Yes, I did have a big issue with the difficulty in Sigma 1, but that was due to the game's technical flaws rather than my own skills. Sigma 2 incorporates very welcome enhancements that make playing on normal difficulty more enjoyable in comparison. However, Sigma 2 starts to dip into the opposite end of the spectrum of the game being too easy with the overabundance of health items you can pick up. Rarely will you find yourself in a situation where you will be in desperate need of health items since the HP system has been reworked to replenish your health to a certain threshold after combat, unlike in Sigma 1 where some encounters can leave you with a fraction of health left with healing items being your only saving grace. Not to mention, save points not being too far from each other, and when you save the first time at one, your health is fully restored. Another thing to consider is that unlike in Sigma 1, your weapon upgrades no longer cost essence to upgrade and can be done at specific item shops you find around levels. With the essence you can save, you can max out all your health item purchases every time you visit an item shop. Again, these changes are welcome but begin to ruin the balance in the opposite direction. The overabundance wouldn't be an issue if the HP system was the same as Sigma 1, where you're rapidly consuming health items in most encounters. Here though, it makes normal difficulty a bit too easy. Even though many of the game's mechanics are improved, some problems from Sigma 1 unfortunately carried over, such as the camera. You will be fighting in more spacious areas, so the camera is less erratic, but you will still run into instances of enemies attacking from off-screen that you will not be able to prepare for. Even though aiming has been improved, it still slows down the pace of combat and feels very situational to use, unlike your melee weapons. This game also does not let you choose whether or not you want to use your revival talisman upon losing all your health, it just does it automatically. Again, why is Devil May Cry the only game that lets you choose? 2 of the extra chapters that have you play as Rachel and Momiji feel like they were randomly inserted into the main story to increase its runtime, as they have next to no bearing on the overall plot. Ayane's chapter at least has some relevance to the plot, but just barely. One last thing I want to bring up is how this game lacks the blood featured in Sigma 1. Instead, the human enemies spew out purple mist and goo in place of it. Why this was done, I have no idea, especially when some human enemies still get red blood on your weapons. Now with all that out of the way, it's time that I give the opinion. Suffice to say, I very much enjoyed my playthrough of Sigma 2 with all the quality of life changes it brings. It may still have some dated mechanics, but it holds up much better against today's competition than Sigma 1 did. It has nice, satisfying combat, a cool story with nice characters, and additional modes to play around with. Now, do I recommend this game? Well, this is where things get a bit complicated, as there are some things to point out about Sigma 2 that put into question of it being the definitive version of Ninja Gaiden 2. For starters, the lack of blood and gore I mentioned before is fully present in the original Ninja Gaiden 2, along with more enemies to slice and dice. Even more perplexing is that the Vita version of Sigma 2, called Sigma 2 Plus, added in a toggle to turn on and off the blood and gore. Why this version doesn't have it, I have no idea. Another thing to consider is that Ninja Gaiden 2 is more difficult since it has more enemies to fight and less health items around to pick up, so if the easy nature of Sigma 2 is a turnoff, then it may be a wise investment to seek the original game, especially since it's backwards compatible with the Xbox Series X. Other than that, it will have to come to personal preference, as Sigma 2 does feature better visuals, easier difficulty, and extra playable characters over the original. With all that said, it's time for my rating. I would give Ninja Gaiden Sigma 2 this crystal skull from Indiana Jones out of 10. Thanks for watching, and tune in for part 3, as we'll be wrapping up this review of the Ninja Gaiden Master Collection when we look at Ninja Gaiden 3 Razor's Edge. If you enjoyed today's review, feel free to check out some of our other videos and subscribe for more. You can also follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and our Facebook page. Once again, thank you for watching.